Sometimes even the simple tasks like changing out a 9-volt battery can go a little wrong. And when I pulled the old battery out of this multimeter, which was starting to die, the tab that holds the battery on, one of the positive or negative connectors there, broke loose. So we're going to be changing out that connector today. Fortunately, I stocked up on extra things when Radio Shack was going out of business, so I just happen to have these sitting around. So these leads head through this circuit board here, so let's get this out of the case and see where they head to and get everything unsoldered and solder in some fresh wire. I always take the approach of take out the screws you can see and go from there. So I pull up a little bit, resisting, look underneath that foam, there's another screw. So always lift gently. One more screw's holding in right there where my thumb's at. Get that last one out, but always lift carefully. You never quite know what's still attached. The selector dial on this multimeter is an interesting little bit of engineering. The way it connects everything there is pretty fascinating. So we'll get to the meat of the issue here. See where those leads go through the board. They go through, they double around, and then they get soldered back into the board. But before we fire up that soldering iron, this screen is loose. 2 of those screws that I took out did not need to come out. They were holding that screen in. So I'm gonna pop those back in quick so that screen's not floating around and potentially getting snapped off. And then we'll start removing some soldered connections. Takes a little while for a soldering iron to warm up, so click that on and start prepping. That's where we're going to be working. We're going to heat up those solder joints at the ends of the red and the black wire there. That's what's going to help us free up that connector. Now that we're all warmed up, we're going to put some heat on that connection. I'm going to pull on it with, there you go, with the tweezers right there. Really doesn't take too much to loosen up a connection. So we're going to get our new one cut to length, strip some of the ends off of it there so we've got some bare wire exposed. And after that, we're going to heat that up with the soldering iron and put a little bit of fresh solder on each one of those connections. Things go better with a little bit of fresh solder on them. That container of schmutz right there is flux. Put a little bit of that on everything when you can. I'd love to tell you what it does, but I'm not even sure. I just know that the whole process goes better when you use it. I'm sure there's a tutorial out there that can help you figure out why that stuff is necessary, but that will not be this tutorial. I'm just looking to heat up a little dab of solder right there on the end of that. That's going to make everything connect a little better later on. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to be holding that lead that I am resoldering to the board, and I am warming up the location that it is going to go through. As that location warms up, the solder melts and it slides in. It is being a little fussy. It's a little harder than it looks to kind of force that wire into the right location, but apply the heat, press, and there you have it. It's in, soldered. And that is one down, one more to go. We're going to repeat those steps, same as the last one. Just going to hold it in the location that I want it to be. Use the soldering iron to apply heat to the pre-existing hole that's already got solder on it, and then boop, it's in, and that's it. The soldering part of this job is done. And there we have it, 2 clean solder jobs. Don't have little strands of wire hanging all over the place trying to short it out. It's just a pretty decent replacement. I'm a little proud of that. And since we need that selector dial to be making contact with the circuit board to be able to test if this worked, we're gonna have to put this board back into the case, screwed back in with that selector dial. Because if not, hooking up a battery to it is not gonna do me any good currently. So once we've got this done, we can hook up the battery and see if it works. Now this is the battery that was a little low on juice. This is the one that came out of it, but this is what I had on hand to test it. And there you have it. Continuity test works. It is good. We have a working multimeter again. I like it. Fresh battery here. We put it all back together. And if you're liking this video and you're getting something useful out of it, hit that like button. And if you've seen a couple of these videos and you're enjoying them, why don't you subscribe and check out my stuff on the regular. I'd appreciate it. Thanks. And here we have it. This could have been a throwaway item, but with a little bit of time and a couple bucks worth of parts, turned it into a working multimeter again. And here's that battery that came out of it that wasn't doing real great. Came up to about 6 and change as far as voltage goes, so that seems to be what it takes to make a dead 9 volt. Thanks for watching.